And Reuters reports that the Mexican president is worried Biden's asylum policies are encouraging organized crime and boosting human trafficking. A cartel expert says the same thing. In fact, he says the cartels are smuggling so many migrants, they need new methods of tracking them. And TV's Grace Coulter has the story.
But we never talk about the core problem, and that is the Mexican cartels.
Speaking with American thought leaders, Jason Jones, a former captain of the Texas Department of Public Safety, says it's time for Mexican cartels to be designated as a terrorist organization so that law enforcement can go after them directly.
The cartels have gone through such quantum leaps in how they control and become a parallel government in Mexico, and these stories are not getting out. So when you talk about, what level of control does the cartel have at our southern border? It is 100%. They control it all.
Jones says to the cartels, people are a commodity. He said they look at the migrants as if they're nothing. He said they regularly carry out sexual assault and mass killings on the migrants. And now, under the Biden administration's immigration policies, Jones says the cartels are smuggling people across the border in numbers that are now overwhelming the cartels themselves. So they are resorting to a new method to keep track of the migrants and their payments: wristbands.
Well, on that band, you've got a specific marking that identifies, like one of the first ones we saw was a turtle, for example. That identifies a specific smuggling group working with Cartel de Golfo, or what is also known as the Gulf Cartel. It had the word metal on it. Now, that word metal meant that the peso or the tax had been paid. And then the final thing, and the most concerning on, was the number. There was a numbering system on it.
He says that in addition to taking the migrants' identification info, contact, and destination, the cartels also call the migrants' family in their country of origin and get the family's address. Here's why.
We're going into a realm of debt bondage. The prices at the border, the cartels are really charging a lot more than we've seen historically. So I'll give you a great example. The Cartel del Noreste and the Gulf Cartel are charging for migrants who come from Honduras and Guatemala and Venezuela $3,000 to cross. Now, that's just at the river. Well, a lot of them can't pay that. That's a lot of money. So they'll pay $1,000 up front. Now they're indebted. Now they move into the United States, they cross, but they are indebted to a criminal organization in a foreign country while living in the United States.
Jones says the cartels are much bigger than just a U.S.-Mexico problem. One cartel is now in 48 countries. And Jones says it's not only South American migrants crossing the border into the U.S.
Throughout the campaign, the Biden administration said that if people are going to cross, they're going to be let in the country. And you have to understand that was like a beacon to folks all over the world.
He says they're now finding migrants coming from countries like Africa and China. And he says more are on the way, each one a potential client for the cartels. Grace Coulter.